Video games have come on a long way from the simplistic nature of Pong and Space Invaders, all the way to the mind-blowing realistic graphics of games like Capcom's Resident Evil 2 remake, and graphic stunning experiences like BioWare's Anthem. And as these games approach closer and closer to reality, there have been increased concerns from parents as these games become more accessible to a younger audience. These fears aren't really anything new though. Parents and other authority figures have admonished video games for years. A notable example of this is Mortal Kombat controversy, which ended in the creation of the ESRB to assign games with an age rating. Leading on from this, today I'll be talking about the effects of video games, both positive and negative, on its younger audience, as well as how the video game world and its communities have evolved over the years. An important facet of games these days is voice communication, allowing friends to talk with each other and teammates to coordinate strategies. A big proponent of this is Xbox Live.
I will soon experience complete oneness with an interconnected global community of game warriors.
Microsoft's two-day celebration called Zero Hour kicked off last night with a few words from executives welcoming the crowd at Hangar 703 just before opening the doors, which revealed an entire hangar full of Xbox 360s for attendees to get their hands on.
When Microsoft's second console, Xbox 360, shipped, every console came with a headset, allowing every gamer the ability to talk with their fellow players. This was centered mostly on the games from the Halo series, as well as the Call of Duty series. Most notable, though, were the Halo games.
Is being rendered in real time on a Macintosh using OpenGL.
Halo was first announced at the Macworld event in 1999 as a third-person strategy game exclusive to Mac computers. During development, Microsoft bought Bungie and the game was transitioned into the first-person shooter that it is today for the flagship console, the Xbox.
Bring the ship back up to combat alert. I want everyone at their station.
Men, keep your eyes downrange, fingers on your triggers, and we all go home in one piece. Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir.
Lock and load your weapons. Let's be ready to move. Good luck, miss.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
For this gang, going for real safety.
What is that thing, Lieutenant?
Hell if I know. We're landing on it. Damn, airbrake failure. Right by impact.
Chief, can you hear me?
Affirmative. Echo 419 inbound.
The Covenant presence here is stronger than I anticipated. They seem to have the entire region secured.
The ring has some kind of deep religious significance.
They call it Halo.
They believe that Halo is some kind of weapon, one with vast, unimaginable power.
If Halo is a weapon, and the Covenant gained control...
When Halo Combat Evolved, released in 2001, it had a number of features that lived up to the subtitle, that are used in almost every modern shooter, such as wide open areas that resulted in the enemies that could make use of the environment, like the player can. Only being able to hold two weapons as opposed to the massive arsenals of PC games like Doom and Half-Life, where it takes some time to figure out where all of your weapons are for quick switching, while Halo's switch weapons at the press of a button, the Y button, which brought a level of strategy to your weapon choices. The third of these monumental features was the energy shield. Separate from the player's health, this was a rechargeable shield that allowed the player to be more aggressive in their strategies, as opposed to games like the early Call of Duty titles, which simply had health. All of these gameplay features combined to help the multiplayer explode with both casual and competitive audiences alike. The original Halo had a system link feature that allowed up to 4 consoles with 4 players each in split screen to connect locally and play matches with up to 16 people. This is really important as Xbox Live itself wouldn't arrive until 2002, and so people drove across the country to play against each other in big LAN parties, which was one of the core foundations of the Halo community.
All about Halo, and they all post on these online forums, and they're all like these internet beings that like we finally get to shake hands with.
In the following years, the community grew with a PC port with dedicated servers and modders, proving itself as an online game. The series was ripe for a sequel, but it would take some doing to make something that was worthy of it. Halo 2 was released to the public on November the 9th, 2004, after an ARG, augmented reality game titled I Love Bees, ending in an invitation for players to attend one of 4 events at a cinema where they'd have the chance to play the game early, which drove up hype for the game even further.
The so-called beekeepers themselves.
If this had just been a Halo 2 preview, or even playing like they're doing right now, a lot of these people wouldn't come. It's the community first and last. That's the whole benefit of this kind of game, is that it pulls people together rather than separating them.
Halo 2 broke records, not only for video games, but for entertainment as a whole, as it sold around 2.4 million copies in its first 24 hours, becoming the highest grossing entertainment product at the time.
Biggest retail launch in entertainment history.
Dozens of grown men and probably about 3 women have crawled out of their parents' basements tonight to be first in line to buy the new video game Halo 2.
Video gamers across the country are anxiously awaiting the midnight release of a game called Halo 2.
45 minutes and counting for Halo 2 to go on sale.
The line right now is probably about 100 yards long.
It is the most anticipated game in entertainment history.
Well, if you're an Xbox gamer, there's a good chance you're pretty tired right now.
Halo 2 sold 2.4 million units in 24 hours.
Now, I understand there's a few more states to put in the red and blue columns. We're going to go back to the map and Rob Cordry. Rob, looking at the... Rob.
Yeah! Yeah! Suck it! Suck it! Where's your alien plasma rifle now, bitch?
Rob!
Wow! Oh!
Are you playing Halo?
No.
The anticipation around that, coming, that Halo 2 was going to land, I think it was just a kind of magical moment.
Halo 2's multiplayer was a direct evolution of the original Halos, and made use of Halo 2's new features, one of the most impactful being dual wielding. Halo 2 also introduced the fan favourite weapon, the battle rifle, a 3-shot burst rifle which would become a staple in the competitive side of Halo. Another new and exciting, extremely unique weapon for a console shooter was the energy sword. This was a melee weapon that, unlike other weapons, allowed the player to lunge at enemies and take down most in one hit. But in multiplayer, it was always a one-hit kill. Features exclusive to the multiplayer included an expanded customization allowing players to play as an elite, which was due to being able to play as a notable elite, the Arbiter, in the game's campaign. An impressive amount of custom game options only surpassed by subsequent games in the series. The maps it introduced were unique and varied, with individual characters making them memorable, like with classics like Warlock and Zanzibar, and all of these are without even mentioning Xbox Live. Halo 2 introduced matchmaking playlists, which instead of players finding their own games, grouped players into certain modes, such as Team Slayer. There was also a ranking system that helped you group with players of your skill level. Voice chat integration allowed for teammates and enemies to communicate, and it was where boys were made into men.
Right, hold on.
Dude. Fucking muted. Oh my god, dude. Did you fucking hear that guy? God, my ears are bleeding.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck you. As a matter of fact. How about them apples, fat ass? Hey, Devil.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Nice.
Happy.
What?
Fuck you.
Ah, you fell for it.
Hey,
you better watch out.
Hey, this guy's big into MMA. His name's Armbar. Watch the fuck
actually,
out.
I'm
not into MMA. Oh, you just into sucking dick?
He likes to watch those guys get sweaty and wrestle.
What
Your
the
mom's
hell
gonna
is
yell at
that?
you soon, you little fuck.
Hey, Death Warden. Fuck you.
Okay, I got you.
Hey, Bake Chef.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Hey, Blue Zane.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Hey, armbar.
Fuck you. Oh, Pikachu, bitch! Oh my shit!
This wasn't an isolated scenario. These sorts of interactions happened all the time on Xbox Live, and even still happen today. Most of the time it's all in good fun. It helped create that sense of community, a place where people could let their personalities flourish, without the restrictions of real life. Coming up to the Xbox 360, Halo 3 was released on September the 5th, 2007, and made close to $170 million in the first 24 hours, with 8 million copies sold by the end of the year, giving Halo 3 a massive player base. The gameplay of Halo 3 felt like Halo 2.5, and that was a great thing, as not only was matchmaking refined with social modes like Free-for-All, Rumble Pit, and Team Social Slayer, and rank modes like SWAT and Team Snipers, as well as an MLG playlist, which featured the same maps, modes, and settings as the successful MLG Pro circuit. Halo 3's wealth of multiplayer options allowed players freedom to create whatever they wanted. This was culminated in the Forge mode, with modes like the now official Rift Ball. A genre in which online communities are vital is the MMO, massively multiplayer online genre, with games such as World of Warcraft, EVE Online and Second Life. These games thrive off player interaction and have had many events happen solely because of the players. EVE Online is a space-based, persistent world MMORPG, massively multiplayer online role-playing game, where players can participate in a variety of professions and activities from mining and exploration to piracy and combat. The game's size consists of about 7,800 different star systems that players can explore. Unlike other MMORPGs, EVE Online functions all within the same single shared world, as opposed to different multiple servers like in World of Warcraft, and thus any actions taken can affect every player. There are several players' alliances and corporations in the game that continually vie for resources and territory, and have been involved in large-scale wars over the years. The biggest of these wars was the Fountain War of 2013, which saw two of the biggest alliances go to war over the Fountain Galaxy, which was rich in resources. Not only was this the biggest war in EVE, it was also the biggest war in all of gaming. The important part of this is that while most conflicts in games are normally solely fictional and controlled, battles in EVE happen over hours and are controlled in a way by time zone differences, and this war was no different, but I'll talk more about that later. Going back to why this is important for online communication, events like this war show how people can and will join forces to have fun, as was the case with a notable faction in EVE and the Fountain War, the Goon Swarm, whose motto was, "We're not here to ruin the game, we're here to ruin your game." Factions have also been destroyed from the actions of a single person who takes up everything they can carry and runs, such as the coup performed by senior members of the CO2 group. Another popular game in this genre is Second Life, which is a more grounded game like an online version of The Sims, where you only control yourself in an online virtual world and explore, socialise, build, create and perform many other activities. I was able to interview one out of the hundreds of thousands of players to get some insight as to how an experience like this is.
Well, thank you for agreeing to talk with me today.
You're welcome.
Would it be okay if you introduce yourself just for the...
Yes, I will. My name's Michelle Henderson. I work at Pembrokeshire College as a lecturer, and I have various hobbies including photography and my PC.
Thank you. Would you mind telling me when you first got involved with the game Second Life?
I started playing Second Life in January 2009. I had a friend who already had an account on Second Life, and I wanted to see how it could be used in education. So that was my original intention, but I got hooked and now play it.
Did you go any further with pursuing the educational aspect of it?
It would work in education for distance learning, I think. For using it in college, it was technically not possible because of the number of ports, and the port numbers used in Second Life are high, and educational establishments block high numbered ports, so it didn't work because they'd all have to be let through the firewall.
Did you see about any other sort of video games for educational purposes?
Neverwinter Nights was used, and I had a little look at that one, but it didn't actually get off the ground for the students. They didn't like it.
Have you heard of, in that regard, have you heard of Minecraft then?
I have heard of Minecraft, and I know that's used a lot in education. I haven't explored it myself, but recently I've had some students talking about the fact that they use Minecraft, so I think it's something I will be looking at.
There is a specialised educational version as well, which is nice for...
Yes.
I haven't really explored that myself. I haven't needed to.
No.
But I have heard good things about it. Going back to Second Life now, what would you say is your favourite part?
My favourite part of Second Life is to be able to meet people from all around the world. Second Life basically is a 3D social platform where you can meet people and engage in various social activities within the virtual world.
Of those activities, do you have a favorite part of it?
I like
specifically, or
I like listening to musicians from around the world because you can go to concerts in Second Life. I like building and creating things within Second Life, and I'm also helped to run a radio station in Second Life, so that's what I enjoy.
How does Second Life interact with your offline life?
I have a few friends who I know in real life as well as in Second Life. Mostly, though, it's completely separate.
What would you say some of your best memories are from Second Life then?
I think my best memories were probably right at the beginning of when I started in Second Life when everything was new. It was really exciting to find that I could talk to people from all around the world, and that within the virtual world you can travel to all different parts of the world as well, because people have created things like the Eiffel Tower and various buildings and places from around the world.
Did you play any video games or any sort of online games before you went into Second Life?
I didn't really. I would play games like Tetris, just single player games really, but not really anything much before Second Life.
What would you say your favorite thing about online games in general would be, not just specific to stuff you do in Second Life?
I think the ability to interact with people socially on a level that is easier, because you wouldn't be able to meet them in person, or maybe because you find meeting people in person awkward. So gaming gives you that chance, and also to be able to support people that you wouldn't have been able to if you hadn't met them online.
How have online games changed how you communicate with others, if they have at all?
I don't think the games have changed how I communicate with others. I email. I think technology has changed how I communicate with others. I'm someone who finds it quite awkward, personal interaction quite awkward. So for me, I like to be able to text. I like to be able to IM and email. I also like the instant response that you can get, and find it quite annoying when you don't get an instant response. So technology itself has changed the way I interact rather than gaming.
So would you say it has helped or just moved it like in a level way?
It's helped because I'm more sociable now than I was before, because before, doing things by yourself, whereas now I am talking to other people and doing things with other people.
Have you seen other similar experiences in games such as EVE Online and Star Citizen?
I've heard of EVE Online, but I haven't tried it.
What is your opinion of those more science fiction uses of connectivity.
I like
A
it.
shared open space.
Yeah, I like it because I like science fiction myself, so I suppose if I did try it, I'd probably like it. But again, it's something that you wouldn't be able to do. You can create your avatar to look how you want and be a sci-fi creature. It's a bit like if you've watched Avatar, to have that ability to do something that you can't do in real life. And that's fun.
If you could pick a different game to invest in other than Second Life and go back to before you started, would you pick a different one?
Probably not. I mean, I did look at World of Warcraft briefly, but I'm not really very keen on battles, so probably not. Probably Second Life suits my personality.
Right, well, thank you for your time. That's all the questions I wanted to ask. And yeah, that's it. So
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you for considering me.
The news media has tended to hold mostly to the idea of video games being a negative influence on people, with some news sources being fairer with them, especially violent video games such as Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty. While they are violent, they are no more so than a lot of movies and TV shows, and in fact are much more freer in terms of what you can do in them. For instance, in GTA, while you can kill everyone in sight, you can also choose not to, and if you do start killing people, there are consequences, and that the authorities will come and stop you, just like in real life. Moving on to more realistic things, video games can also be used to educate and train people. There are several studies proving the educational benefit of video games. One study, performed by Glasgow University lecturer Matthew Barr, involved 36 undergraduates split into two different groups. The first was a control group, while the second, with 16 students, were asked to play 8 video games including Borderlands 2, Minecraft and Tomb Raider, under controlled conditions, logging 14 hours of play in a total of an 8-week period. Both groups completed the surveys before and after the experiment, which measured different skills. The findings showed that the group that played the games showed improvements on communication, adaptability and resourcefulness compared to the control group. Going back to the media, we have several examples of both positive and negative opinions on video games. For positive, we have an old clip of Fox News' John Stossel talking with Christian Minister about violence in entertainment, focusing on video games.
Cocaine. Our entire nation has become addicted to violence for entertainment, like the Romans.
You talk about all this stuff coming into our homes in the past 30, 40 years, and you're right, there's much more violence, it's much more horrible.
Yeah.
But crime is down. Yeah. Youth offenses are down. Maybe it's good for kids. We don't know.
We also have a report from ABC News, which goes into the topic of moral panic, which talks about the outcry from people when a new form of media comes out, such as comic books in the 1950s. ABC does also talk about the potential negative effects as equally as the positive effects.
Conclusion? There's no evidence to suggest that exposure to violent video games is associated with violent criminal behavior.
He has a name for the outcry over violent games that sometimes follows a mass shooting. He calls it moral panic.
Whenever a new form of media comes out that particularly older generations don't use and don't understand, it's very, very common for that new media to be blamed for a variety of social ills.
Some may not like them. That's a matter of personal taste.
In the 1950s, it was comic books and a full Senate hearing over the belief that they were making America's kids turn violent.
What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of our own children? Do we forget that they are citizens too, and entitled to the essential freedom to read? Or do we think our children so evil, so vicious, so simple-minded, that it takes but a comic magazine story of murder to set them to murder, of robbery to set them to robbery?
By the
In conclusion, over the years, video games have made enormous strides in how people communicate with each other, but is not a replacement for people talking in person face to face. Rather, it's an addition which allows people to communicate across the world with each other. While video games have both negative and positive effects, the positives are far more prevalent and the negatives are easily managed into no more difficult a manner than any other piece of media.